Hello and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. I'm Roy Counts.
And I'm Sunil Kaushal.
And welcome to the show.
Thanks, Roy.
Sunil, the biggest news of this week was the 9.7% drop in Labour's popularity as per two polls. I think the Reed Research poll and also there was the Roy Morgan poll, which I know you had said on a few shows ago that some people don't believe it, but Roy Morgan's poll was right. How do you read the situation?
I think, look, the shine is coming off. That's fair, and I think people are now beginning to see or judge for themselves what is happening. And I'll put that 9.7% probably to those who were traditionally on the right side but voted left because of the way our Labour government at that time handled COVID. And with the Jacinda wave that was going on, people were quite, and rightly so. She handled this situation in the beginning very well, and she got kudos for that. So now we are beginning to see the traditional voters coming back to their own parties. So it is expected. I would think, it'll drop down a little bit more in the coming months.
I think what is even more frightening if you're a Labour supporter is that even Labour supporters are now not very happy with some of the decisions which the government has taken.
That is always there. I mean, you're true and true blue or true and true red will never criticize your own government.
Right.
But there comes a point when those who are on the middle of the road, and think, they're doing well, will start begin to question some of the decisions that the government makes.
I think the turning point was the farmers' protest. When the farmers had that, like the Indian farmers' protest, they came out with tractors right across the country, and I think that shook up a lot of Labour supporters and the government.
The farmers have protested before too, and they are the backbone of the country. Remember, most of the farmers, majority of them tried to keep Greens out by giving party vote to Labour.
Labour, exactly,
So they came out, and one of the things that the government needs to do is to hear the people. I think that's very important. And a protest like that, the nurses protest, the teachers, all of these. It's and the funny thing is that Labour government is usually a union government,
right?
So the unions are obviously not happy.
Exactly, and what I was alluding to with the farmers' protest was there was no one who actually, except for I think that Kiran McConaughey, who was the MP from I think South somewhere. Except for him, I did not see anyone actually criticize the farmers' protest. Even hardcore Labour supporters actually were with the farmers, and that I think is a scary thing if you are a Labour supporter.
I was quite surprised that none of the MPs, or you would think the Labour MPs would say something in their defence. But it looks like a cakewalk for the farmers.
I also want to, while talking on this same topic, digress slightly into another issue, which is that I personally find that this Labour government and certain personnel in this Labour government have become pretty arrogant. Let's begin with Jacinda Ardern herself deciding not to come on the Mike Hoskin show. Chris Fafoy refusing to give interviews after interviews to staff and New Zealand Herald. Forget about small organizations like us. We are not even in the pecking order. So this arrogance, I think, is now being felt by the public, because the New Zealand public, remember, they don't care a fig about any of these things.
I don't think it's arrogance. I read it as that they are obviously too scared to say something wrong, that they'll put their foot in.
Because they've always been saying things which have been proved to be wrong, whether it is the vaccination. Now, a funny thing is, now just last week they said, oh wow, we have got enough vaccinations now.
I hear that they have run out of Band-Aid and
syringes. They don't have 3.5 million syringes they are shot. So now we have the vaccines but no syringes. How does this government operate? I mean, okay, I'm not blaming Chris Pafoy or Andrew Little.
Someone's not done a stock take.
This is
the person on the ground. Obviously the ministers get a bang for that, but someone needed to probably do a stock take. How can you be short of 3.5 million or 3 million syringes?
Okay, now do you know something that even private health practices are now giving the COVID jab?
No.
You didn't know that, right?
No.
So I jumped through many hoops and I got my shot 2 days ago. My wife tried to book, and she's actually in that. She should be in category 3, but for some reason her name didn't appear. So we went to the medical center for some other work, and suddenly we saw that it is all set up there for COVID jabs. So my wife had, when she tried to book it online, she couldn't book it online. Then someone told her that the earliest available is 1st September in our area. So she went to the receptionist and said, I'm eligible? She said, yes. When can I do it? You can do it right now if you want. So while people are waiting, people like you are waiting, and I know, what happened with after booking it, they didn't find your booking. It is so, I don't know whether
someone else's details.
Yeah, someone else's details, I mean, completely unthinkable, that they have mixed this up. But it has happened before.
I didn't know you could book it.
You can book it at a medical center, and you can book it right away.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and it is free.
It better be free.
It is free, and no one knows about it. Now, that is what got my goat. What shouldn't the government have just made? Now they've got this COVID-19 app, and they're spending millions of dollars on doing promotions. Not once have I seen anywhere. I'm in the news media. Remember, I'm supposed to know these things. I did not know that practices are now giving this jab.
Interesting.
And this is how the government is operating, Sunil.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Right. So while we were talking about the government's failures, and in the course of this discussion, we'll also highlight a few more. I want to actually quickly touch on one person who, for the last year and a half, actually, has been riding a wave. David Seamer. He is doing all the right things. He is going to all the right meetings. He is holding street corner meetings. He is, having meetings in the cafes. He's going to the farms. He's got a very good social media network, and his caucus also are doing quite well. All first timers, but all of them know what they are doing. I attribute this only to hard work. He's really, expending himself, and I just hope that he doesn't, fall sick or something, because every day he's somewhere or the other across the country. It is paying him rich dividends. Do you think that he will be the kingmaker like Vincent Peters in the next elections?
See, I mean, if you look at the polls, goodness knows where the Phoenix is coming back. 3.5%, I don't know how.
Amazing,
and I think it's, but David is touching, the common man.
Yeah.
His narrative, the way, what I've noticed about David, reading his, what he's saying, etc., he's talking about policy with a solution.
Yeah.
When National falls is, they are attacking the opposition, they are attacking the government for the sake of attacking. Without a solution.
No ideas.
Which is absolutely, unwarranted for.
Yeah.
They're going into personality attacking, which, even if you are a national supporter, you say, no, I don't like it because it's about policies.
Yeah.
David's worked hard since 2014. One-man band. No one gave him any chance. I think Winston was always,
dismissive of him.
Dismissive of him because New Zealand's got in with a full Labour caucus and majority. You can see what happens when one party is there, a one-party rule. You certainly need a handbrake in the partnership, someone who can make sensible calls.
Right.
I think when it comes to next elections, and if David keeps riding the way that he's riding, and if National brushes their act together, I think it could be a good chance that he could certainly ask for more than the share of the pie. Right,
exactly. And I think, as you rightly said, he is hitting all the right notes. He is, really touching on the key issues, and he's giving solutions. And he says, this is our policy, this is what we will do. And a large number of millennials and people who are in the center are actually accepting and appreciating this kind of policies. Whereas, as you rightly said, Judith Collins, I think, is completely bereft of ideas. She is not even, as a News Hub said yesterday or a couple of days ago that that they are not even attacking the government when you're getting full toss, as we say in cricket. You got a donkey drop, you can hit it for a six, and they're letting it go. This Harbour Bridge thing is a classic example. A government first, and this is another thing I'm going to come back to Harbour Bridge, but I want to talk about Michael Woods. I had great respect for the guy. I think he's really intelligent. I think he's probably a future prime ministerial material. But how come he does all this kind of, is someone pulling the rug from under his feet or something? I don't know.
Say, when you are a minister, it's all about what advice you are given by your bureaucrats. I think there is a lack of experience and, thing with the bureaucrats that he's got people around him. And Labour has backtracked many times, and it's becoming a classic example that you first throw it out and then backtrack. People get sick and tired of it because it doesn't show confidence in the government. If people speak up, that means, for example, we saw in the Henderson thing, people speak up, you take it back. How about, talking to them first and then coming up with a solution? But I think even the light rail, even Michael Cullen, was saying that just ditch it.
Absolutely. Ditch the, for example, ditching the mill road. Which was vital.
It is very vital.
Very vital for Auckland's economic development. They go and scrap it. And then they decide to do a $785 million bridge, which now no one is sure whether it is going ahead. It is not going ahead. Now they have put another spin now. I'm saying this is a team of great spinners, like our Indian quartet of the 70s. Grant Robertson is talking about a tunnel under the bridge, which should have been done 25 years ago.
But the bike, New Zealand was not keen in favor of having a bike lane in the tunnel. I mean,
this government, as we have been saying, just doesn't have the vision. And I have mentioned this in the past, the reason being that, and you just mentioned something about experience. They don't have the experience. Many of them are either academics, like Ayesha Verrell, is a PhD academic, very well respected, but an academic. Often, as we know, academics are not in touch with Middle New Zealand, or you are a trade unionist, so your viewpoint and worldview is limited to a particular thing. Now, for example, this wage rise. I just heard that unemployment is at
4%,
all-time low. It is going. But you know what? This is nothing to tom-tom about, because if unemployment goes any further down, if there is almost full employment in the economy, it will mean that wages are going up. And if that means it will overheat the economy, then inflation will go up and interest rates will go up. So it's not a very great thing, while they may try to spin it and say, oh, look, there is no unemployment now. Most of New Zealanders are employed. Actually, what has happened is underutilized employment has now become to full employment. For example, people who are working 2 or 3 times a week, now because of the shortage in restaurants and all, they are working full time now. So that's what has happened. So this good, although it's a great news that we don't have high unemployment, as any economist knows that even low in unemployment also is not good for the economy. And that is where we are heading for. Now inflation will start going up. Already it has gone up to 3%. For 10 years it was stuck at 2%. Now it's gone to 3%. And if more people...
But, the unemployment may be going down, but the wages are not going up. And if the wages are
because
not going up,
inflation is catching up with them.
If the wages are not going up, then your interest rates will go up. When the interest rates go up, that means you'll find it hard to repay the mortgages and payment. People who've got home loans at 2.19 or 2.2, suddenly, when they come up for renewal, they'll have to pay 4%, which is double. If they were paying $500, they'll have to pay $1,000. But their income is only $800.
Right.
What does that mean?
Exactly. And the other thing, last week, where the government said we have got 8,000 houses, then New Zealand Herald had a front page story to say most of the houses the government leased from the private sector, which means that the government is competing with first-time home buyers now. The government is fighting with first-time home buyers to lease those and give it to the homeless.
That is very unfortunate. Like even Kayanga Ora houses and properties and all, the first home buyer market is probably it's been first home buyers have been rooted out of the market. They can only get X amount of deposits. Banks and lenders want at least 10%. You can do it on a split thing, but the 10% you pay at a higher rate.
Right.
Maximum 7 years. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah, and Grant Robertson said some time back that they want to make it easy for first-time home buyers. But now they are actually crowding them out of the market because you want a higher deposit. Because now you're saying, if you get a loan, you mean, as you said, no, if interest rates goes up and my income is 800 but my interest is 1,000, then and quite rightly they are concerned that there will be a collapse in the market. There will be mortgagee sales and all of that. So they are now pulling back the levers. Whom will it help? It will help the people who have the equity and the money.
Yeah, so that's what came out today or two. That most of the actually housing market is buoyant. That it hasn't affected what they thought would affect the investors.
Yeah. So again, economic policies, I think, is not what they made out to be. Every prediction has turned out to be wrong. Sunil, the one more thing I want to touch on is about the leadership in the National Party. Many people are saying that Christopher Luxon should take over. I made a prediction on this show a few months ago that Judith Collins would be out by August. I still stand by that. Okay, probably by the end of this month or latest as spring starts, I'm sure that, or maybe they may keep her on till the end of the year and then start the new year with a new leader. My view is that Christopher Luxon, although he is, primed to be the next leader, I don't think he's currently ready because he comes from a corporate background where he is used to actually dictating terms and getting his way. In politics, it's a different ballgame altogether. It is the art of the impossible. Do you think Christopher Luxon is in the right position now to take over?
No, I don't think Christopher Luxon is in the right position. I think he's a wise man, and I don't think he'll put up his hand this term at all.
I don't think so.
He's quite a strategist. He knows what he's doing. He knows, and he's been a CEO, so he knows exactly what to do. So I wouldn't even put any money on him.
Yeah.
I think probably you might see Mark Mitchell and others, and maybe Erica Stanford as a deputy, but no, not Christopher Luxon this term.
Yeah, I know. I don't think so. Or it could be also that Simon Bridges may make a comeback.
Yes, definitely. I mean, look, people have started liking Simon, because he's matured over the years. He's got that, go-getting spirit in him. He's become more plausible to people. He's become more likable. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back.
And don't forget, when he was rolled, he was much higher in his ratings than
that's his feather in the cap. He always says, I was the highest. When you guys rolled me over.
Yeah. Aotearoa, should New Zealand be called as Aotearoa?
I think there are other issues than just naming a country. I don't have a problem. I think every country, has their own name, and Aotearoa, New Zealand is fair enough. But let's not make it a big issue because that's the Maori name of the land. It's like Germany is called Deutschland. Holland, Netherlands. India we call Hindustan, Bharat. So it's not a big.
I personally don't have any issue with calling it Aotearoa because I come from a country where we change so many names. For example, the city I came from, Bombay, is now called Mumbai for the last 30 years. And it was originally Mumbai. So it was, the Europeans couldn't pronounce. For example, we have a suburb called Thane. So they used to call it Tani because they couldn't pronounce Thane. Now we don't need to call it Tani. We'll call it Thane. Or Kanpur, where they used to call it Kanpur, and we used to call it. So we can't. So we come from a country where names have been changed from colonial. I am all for changing the names, but I have two observations. And I'm not saying that I don't want to call New Zealand Aotearoa. I'm quite happy to call. But my thing is, when Captain Cook and the other Europeans came to this country, was this country called Aotearoa by its inhabitants? I don't know the answer to that. Was it called Aotearoa by all the inhabitants of this country? Was it known by that country? If it was, by all means, we should use that. The other thing is, if the government is planning to officially change the name, be transparent. Don't do it through the back door, through stealth. but using, you see any of the Labour MPs or Green MPs, when they do an article, they will only call New Zealand Aotearoa, or they'll call it Aotearoa New Zealand. They will, so what has happened is they're trying to, it's the boiling frog syndrome. They're trying to, let people get used to the idea, which is not a bad thing actually in a way. And as I said, I'm all for change in the name of the country. But I think we need to weigh up everything before anything is made official. Just like John Key did with the flag.
Yeah, but then again, with the referendum, it's just too expensive, and I think majority of New Zealanders Kiwis won't have a problem being called. But as long as the government is transparent and say, look, we think, this should be our name, and we'll pass a bill. Right. They're in majority; they can do what they want.
Yeah. Well, talking about housing, Chloe Swabick did an article recently in the New Zealand Herald just a couple of days ago. And it was an opinion piece, and I thought it was a very silly opinion. I'll just read out something from that. So this is what her article says. Now, the article was entitled Home Dream Engulfed by Nightmare of Greed. So she begins by saying that after World War II, the United Nations said that there should be equitable society, and they mandated certain provisions. And they said, she's saying that over the 70 years, what has happened is people have become, used those provisions of the United Nations, which was supposed to give housing for all. And some people have actually become greedy, and they have sort of made money and, all the evil capitalists and all of that kind of thing. So, you can see it's a very, hard left-wing kind of piece. But there's one thing which she mentions here, which actually I thought was absolutely silly. Now, she says here, he says, in Aotearoa, New Zealand, see again they are using this, in Aotearoa, New Zealand, that wealth comes in the form of owning houses, multiples of them. So she's saying these are the bad people. They made use of the provisions of the United Nations and the government policies. They cornered the market for themselves. So in New Zealand, owning a house is a bad thing. You are a bad capitalist, Sunil, if you own a house. And if you own 2 or 3, you are worse than, the bankers. You're worse than Rockefeller. That's what she's saying.
That's her opinion. She's entitled to her opinion. I think, we are. United Nations doesn't help us, right? Yeah. In the sense they don't run our country. They don't put food on the table for us. They don't do this. They don't do that. United Nations is a body, which is probably lacking more influence in the world. Yes, they do a lot of good work for third world countries below the poverty line. But for a country like New Zealand to be ruled by the things that the United Nations wants, I think we should be ruled by our own leaders and our own constitution. Our own, charter, rather than going on to say what. What she's saying might be true in a country that is below the poverty line, and where greedy people are taking over. Yeah. I would say to her, well, do something for homelessness, for the homes, rather than competing with the first home buyers and with their Housing New Zealand policy. Think about that, do some actions around that rather than this.
Now, she, in this article, she mentions 4 things. She says that, there is security of tenure. She says that renters don't have security of tenure. They don't have renters' rights. Habitability of the house, means is it fit enough to live in? And rental warrant of fitness, accessibility, all that. Now, if you're a landlord and if you have to build a ramp in the assumption that sometime in future there may be a disabled person who will rent your property or lease your property, so you have to build a ramp, and the government mandates that all rental property should have a ramp, for example. This is not done. No. And okay, I understand that there's a problem of habitability. There are some landlords, they should be whipped because they are giving very poor stock to. But what is the government doing? The government should have, for example, the healthy homes thing is a good initiative. However, some of the things are far-fetched, like you're having an extractor fan and having a heat pump and all of that. If what they can say is there should be some form of heating, but don't mandate that it should be a heat pump or it should be of this much wattage. This is communists, where they say this is what you should do. Are you giving it free to me to install it in my house? No. And I come from Mumbai, till about 20, 25 years ago, Mumbai was a crumbling city. It is because the Rent Act of 1942 was only revoked in around 2002 or something like that, or 2010. For about 60 or 70 years, people were paying rents which were at the 1942 level. So do you think landlords would have any interest in keeping the building? Which is the reason why when you see all these World Vision photos of Indian cities, crumbling buildings and all that, because the laws were these communist laws, in India.
Yeah.
So, and that's my problem. That if they do this, what will happen is, landlords will pull out, and then you will have slums and slums and slums, just as has happened in large parts of America. Okay, Sunil, I want to end this program in the last segment by talking about the hate speech laws. So last week on this show, we had Dr. David Cumin. He is a spokesperson for the Free Trade Union, and he explained some of the reasons why they are opposed to the proposals in its current form. Now, that just a couple of days ago, a man, a Christian, okay, now I'm, not a Christian, I don't even advocate street preaching, but I want everyone to have their right to have their say. So there was this preacher at a public, square somewhere, very secluded place. He was doing his preaching. He was handing out the Christian tracts, and he's talking about, heaven and hell and, redemption and repentance and doing good and all that, which a normal, Orthodox Christian person would do, a preacher would do. The police come and stop him from doing it, saying that what he is doing is spreading hate. I am appalled.
See, this is my big question. Where does religious freedom come in the hate speech thing? I believe in what my beliefs are, what my, faith is, what my values are according to my faith. And if my faith says, if my belief says that this is wrong, but to you, it may be wrong, right, for me, but to you, it is right. So which one is
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you say you are right, then you are hurting my feelings there.
Yeah.
So who is going to defend me? I think it's a big gray area. Just like this guy was stopped from sharing his beliefs, and I think it's a free country. You can go and share your beliefs, and for example, as you say, it's a Christian guy. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, people go up and down the thing.
Absolutely. Sikhs do it, Muslims do it.
So, if a Hare Rama, Hare Krishna is going, and if I am a Sikh, or if I am a Jew, or if I am a Muslim, or if I am a Christian, and I don't agree with Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, what they are preaching, do I call the police and stop them?
Yeah.
Where is the middle ground? And I think I think it needs to be revisited, and that's why I'm not for in the current format. If I was to but then which one is true? For example, this guy, he's probably preaching from the Bible, which he believes to be true,
right?
Which he has a faith in that, and if the Bible says that if you don't repent and confess and you follow Christ and be baptized and follow Christ, you're going to hell. Well, that's what it says.
Saying exactly in the Bible.
In the Bible, and that's what he's preaching. Now, are you saying that the Bible is a hate speech?
Yeah, exactly, and that is the point I was trying to
Are you saying that the Gita, the Ramayana, the Quran, are all
because this is the elephant in the room, because Karl Marx was very clear. He said that, if you have economic prosperity for all, religion has to be done away with. He said religion is the opium of the people.
Yep, that's right.
And my fear is that these people who advocate such policy, they may not be Marxists or they may not be communists, but they advocate such policies, Che Guevara types of policies. Eventually what will happen is they will start attacking religion. And once they do that, then there's no harmony or no peace. See, what happens is, let a person come with a long beard, hold a placard and say the world is ending, repent. A lot of people do that. They hold a placard, or they used to do in the 1920s. It is his opinion. I mean, the world is not going to end. The world has been here for 1 million years. So if he feels that, let it be. If someone says that so and so, that this lamppost is the only true God, and you feel offended, I don't think there should be anything to be offended. If person feels that a lamppost is the only true God, it is his problem.
That's a belief.
Exactly. My problem is that this government, instead of tackling the key economic issues, are actually going into all of these kind of issues which are non-issues. Opening the borders is important. Economic prosperity, our exports, fruit exports, all this is important issues. But the government apparently is more.
Samoa, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, they never had COVID. We're just opening the borders now.
Yeah.
When all the fruit has gone rotten.
Rotten. Well, Sunil, thank you so much for coming to the studio as usual and sharing some of your opinions with our viewers. I hope our viewers actually glean some information from the things that we discuss. Our attempt is to give people the facts and you make up your own mind. So thank you so much for watching us and we'll see you again next Friday. Good night.